Yeah, I think it is, and I think what we found is that parity has really been probably the buzzword. I think Ohio State, for example, is probably more indicative of how they played yesterday than how they played against us. So when you play them, where you play them, as we've said for years, sometimes, for whatever reason, teams perform, and you really can't say home or road, because we've seen some road teams go in and play well in places, and usually you could kind of predict the upper echelon, so to speak, to be pretty stiff at home and pretty consistent there, but that hasn't always been the case either. So I think we're still early enough in the conference season that it's still unpredictable. Will that eventually level off and become more consistent? I don't know. I just see so much parity. I think you've seen some of the teams that maybe haven't been in the upper half have more experience right now. I think we've seen obviously Rutgers has struggled from a win-loss perspective, but how they've played, how hard they've played, and then you can work your way from there in terms of the teams that have gotten more experience. Northwestern, I think from what I've watched so far, Maryland is legit and pretty good. I like how they looked early, and obviously we don't play them for a little while yet, so I haven't really dove into that, but just watching them against common opponents, Michigan, for example, I think they're pretty, and they've been pretty consistent too, other than the Nebraska loss. But like I said, it is unpredictable. I think it makes it exciting for fans. It keeps the interest level high, but I think we've got a lot of really good teams. I don't know if there's a dominant team, but I think we've got a lot of very good teams, and obviously coaching and the level of play from individual players is pretty good. So I would assume it'll continue that way in terms of how the league will play out, and we're obviously very early in the season of that. I don't think so. I think we're always looking at what makes our league, within it. I think the more teams we can have in that conversation, the better. Obviously, you'd like to be the team that's out front of everybody, but I think we'll see down the road if that's something that's positive or negative. I think you obviously want the league to be competitive night in and night out. I think it's done a pretty good job nationally. You mentioned we don't have that many ranked teams, but I think you see some teams that maybe are traditionally, for example, Michigan State's pretty young, Indiana's younger, that maybe always get national headlines regardless of the year. But I think we see some movement upwards of some teams that maybe haven't traditionally been in the upper half or contending for NCAA tournament bids. So, like I said, from a fan's perspective, it's exciting. Coaching it becomes a little more stressful, but that's all good. And I know the players enjoy it. I know the players, obviously, with how they are now, they know each other well before they get to college. The social media and the AAU network and everything they play in before they get to college, they know who's on Maryland's roster, who's on Rutgers' roster, who's at Penn State, and there's a common connection that maybe wasn't there 10, 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, I think he was very opportunistic. He went in and did the things he's capable of, didn't get too outside his lane, so to speak. And he's been in a little bit of a precarious situation that I've asked him to play, perimeter position on the scout team, and knowing that he has some experience with us, or meaning the group, the starting five and the first two or three that are off the bench. He has experience with that group, so I've left him on the scout team a little bit more to make them a little more consistent. He's handled that responsibility very well. So knowing that he's not going to get maybe as many reps over with the regular rotation, but come game time, he's expected to know what's going on. So he's been able to get more repetitions on the scout team and continue to improve his game there, while at the same time understanding what his responsibilities are on the other side of the floor. So he's handled that pretty well. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the two big guys, Wagner and Wilson, give them a dimension that maybe they've had one big, they can shoot the three or stretch you from the perimeter, but not maybe two at the same time. So that obviously stands out right away if you look at their numbers and watch them play. And both of them have the ability to put the ball on the floor too. I mean, Wagner made some plays on Saturday against Nebraska that are Kaminsky-like in terms of putting the ball on the floor. So I know John is pretty happy with those two and how they played and how they developed, but he's also got some experience around him, in those two with Walton at point and Zach Irvin on the wing. So they've been able to, scoring has not been an issue for them. They've been able to put the ball in the basket pretty consistently. That'll be a huge challenge for us, and how much stress they put on the defense in all 5 positions, because most of the guys they have on the floor can shoot the 3. Some aren't shooting it as well as maybe capable, according to numbers, but they obviously all have potential to hurt you from deep, and that puts extra stress on how far you can come off, how much you can play in the paint. So having 2 bigs that can shoot really, will put us in some tougher decision-making positions in terms of the defensive end.